I am here today at Sony Pictures Studio to do an interview with PK Hooker, who was a sound effects editor for films like Transformers, Transformers 2, Revenge of the Fallen, Kung Fu Panda, and his latest film, Shrek the Fourth.
I first knew when I wanted to do sound effects editing actually after I moved to LA. I moved to LA in 2004, and I had studied recording for music mostly in Chicago, which is where I'm from and where I moved from, and was doing that and doing voiceover and stuff like that. And I came out here mostly because I just wanted to come out here and, live in the sunshine. And it just so happened that one of my mother's best friend's little brother is a sound supervisor here. So about 6 or 7 months after I moved here, I started an internship with him, and then that led me to where I am now, which I met everybody and started working more and stuff. And sound effects was just more fun to me, as opposed to like music or dialogue. Like that was kind of the place where I thought everybody was kind of goofing around the most, and I like to goof around, and that's what this job allows me to do. So here you go. It can vary from process to from film to film. I mean, it also sort of depends on the type of film. Like when we did Transformers 1, 2, and soon enough 3, and the director, Michael Bay, tends to bring us on very early in a very, very limited fashion, when they go out and they shoot in the world, and then they come back and visual effects is always doing stuff. So when they get a shot sort of together with like temporary visual effects, they'll bring us in to do like a sound effects design pass just to get something going. And then we crew up much later on. So like we'll like sometimes like right towards the end of when they're finished actually filming the thing is when we start to give them stuff, and then a few months after that we start to get the whole crew together and start really doing it. With stuff like animation, they've had so much time. Animation takes like 3 or 4 years to make a movie. So like right now we're working on a movie called Megamind, and it's they bring us on 6 or 7 months before they finish the movie, and they put a lot of time into their own soundtrack, so they don't need us as much as something like Transformers. So I'd say typically on the types of movies that we do, we end up working straight for like 7 months, and then when we're done with our stuff, that's the end of the movie. It's done. We're like the last thing that happens. So. We use in our job we use mostly Macintosh computers. Not necessarily, but that's mostly what people use, with Pro Tools, sound editing software, and Pro Tools hardware too, like audio interfaces and stuff, and 5-channel speaker systems that vary all over the place. So that's 5 channels, like a center, a left and a right, a left surround, a right surround, and then a subwoofer. And then just a bunch of plugins and stuff for designing, and hard drives and stuff like that. And then for when we're in the field, we have a 2-channel recorder with a 2-channel stereo microphone that we use to go record sound effects out in the world. And that's just a rugged little 2-channel thing you can wear on your shoulder and stuff like that. That's pretty much it. Personally, I did kind of my first big gig. I mean, I've been cutting a little bit, but my first big gig was Kung Fu Panda, and they were awesome filmmakers. Everybody involved, the editors, the directors, the artists. They were really awesome filmmakers, really interested in sound and really enthusiastic about it. And it was such a beautiful movie, and it was such like the sound really suited me. It was very high detail, very very mellow, very low key. Like there wasn't a lot of Transformers was cool, but it's just big giant robots blowing up everything. So it's like the sound choices and the sound opportunities are obvious and big and very actiony and stuff, and I like that, but Kung Fu Panda was about blowing up everything, you know, so it's like the sound choices and the sound opportunities are obvious and big and very actiony and stuff, and I like that, but Kung Fu Panda was much more subtle, and there's a lot of really intricate detail that the filmmakers allowed us to sort of bring into it, and keep in it through the final. You know, they didn't wash it over with music. They let a lot of the work we did get through, and I really have always liked that. From the work that I did, that's my favorite movie. I think you have to be somewhat of a miscreant. You know, I think you have to be very playful. I think you have to be, I don't know about adolescent, but like curious, you know, and playful and experimental, and sort of have somewhat of a deviant mind, to just, you know, figure out different ways to do things, different ways to get sounds, and to sort of think, you know, outside the box. It's sort of cliche to say, but it's true. You have to be able to just sort of think very abstractly, because I think with sound especially, you have a lot of times the sound that you use to represent something has nothing to do with what that thing actually is, you know. So if you're working in production, if you're building sets or building something, it has to look like the thing, you know. If you're building a supercar, it has to look like a car. And, you know, in visual effects too, like, you know, if you're making visual effects of a dragon, it has to look like a dragon. I mean, you can there's room to maneuver, but in sound, there's no rules. I mean, it just has to sound cool. You know, if you want to do a dragon, you could take your baby saying hi and like twist it around in crazy ways till it becomes this enormous sound, you know. So there's like so sound design is really abstract in that way, and that's kind of what I think is the most exciting about it. And I think that if you have a mind for that, then it's a good place to be. You know, if you can just have that kind of freedom and that kind of, you know, I'm going to take this one thing and make it into this totally other thing, and just like you can hear it sort of evolve in your mind and make it real. It's cool. Yeah, I do. I know my next two projects, actually. I'm going to be working on Kung Fu Panda 2, which I'm excited about, and then Transformers 3, which is outrageous. Those, you know, those movies are, well, Kung Fu Panda 2 I'm really excited about, because obviously, you know, Kung Fu Panda was one of my favorite, so I think that's going to be really fun, and it's pretty mellow, like there's not a lot of overtime, and then, you know, Transformers 3 is going to be crazy. It's going to be like, you know, we're going to be working for 24 hours straight and then go home and sleep for 6 hours and come back and do it again, you know. It's just like, it's hard, but it's exciting, you know.